In the world of music, even the greatest legends aren't immune to rivalry. Behind the glamour, intense competition and personal conflicts often shape careers and legacies. These fierce feuds not only fueled creativity but left a lasting mark on music history. The Rat Pack, an era of Hollywood and Las Vegas defined by the smooth, charismatic swagger of legends like Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, and their crew. To the world, they were the ultimate best friends, inseparable on and off stage. But behind the laughter and the performances, there was a simmering animosity between Sinatra and Martin that would eventually tear apart their friendship and their iconic partnership. On stage, the chemistry between Sinatra and Martin was undeniable. Sinatra, the driven, perfectionist mastermind, played the role of the leader, commanding attention with every note he sang. Martin, the more laid-back and easygoing counterpart, charmed the audience with his relaxed, smooth demeanor. Together, they created the perfect balance. Sinatra's ambition, Martin's cool, but offstage, the two men couldn't have been more different. Frank Sinatra was obsessed with control. His career was everything. Every detail had to be perfect, and he expected the same level of dedication from everyone around him, including his closest friends. Martin, on the other hand, didn't share the same drive. While Sinatra was consumed by his work ethic and perfectionism, Martin was content enjoying the luxuries of fame without the pressure. He wasn't as committed to the grind of the show business machine as Sinatra was. Martin wanted to have fun, perform when it suited him, and maintain a more carefree lifestyle. This fundamental difference in their personalities created an underlying tension that would grow over time. The incident that truly marked the breakdown of their friendship came when Martin made the decision to step away from the Rat Pack to focus more on his solo career. It wasn't just about leaving a group, it was about distancing himself from Sinatra's vision and control. Martin, frustrated by Sinatra's micromanagement and the intense pressure to always perform at the highest level, wanted to pursue his own path without being tied down. He wanted freedom, something Sinatra, with his fierce sense of leadership, couldn't understand. Sinatra viewed Martin's decision as a betrayal, a slap in the face. How could his friend, his Rat Pack partner, walk away at the height of their success? This moment triggered an emotional explosion. Sinatra, who had always prided himself on being the leader of the group, felt abandoned by Martin. Martin wasn't just leaving a band, he was leaving Sinatra. The betrayal stung deeply. Sinatra's frustration was not only about the group's success, but also about his own sense of pride. To Sinatra, this wasn't just business, it was personal. But the conflict didn't end with Martin's departure. As Sinatra continued to push for bigger and better things, he couldn't stop talking about Martin. He would criticize him in interviews, complain about Martin's lazy attitude, and even speak about their falling out with bitterness. Sinatra couldn't let go of the fact that his friend was no longer by his side, leaving him to carry the weight of the Rat Pack legacy alone. And in turn, Martin, who had always been a bit more independent, became resentful of Sinatra's ongoing attempts to control him. At the core of it, Sinatra and Martin had contrasting ideas of what it meant to be successful. Sinatra was driven, consumed by his career and fame. Martin, while undoubtedly talented, wasn't willing to sacrifice everything for the spotlight. The tension between them was always a battle of ambition versus contentment, control versus freedom, and commitment versus independence. This clash only grew over the years, with Sinatra continuing to push for greater success while Martin pursued his solo career at his own pace. The final incident that deepened the rift was Martin's decision to focus fully on his film and music career, taking a step back from the Rat Pack and their joint performances. For Sinatra, it wasn't just a professional split, it felt like a betrayal of their long-standing friendship and partnership. Martin was living life on his own terms, without the strings Sinatra had tied him to. And for Sinatra, that was something he couldn't forgive. The tension between Sinatra and Martin had reached a point where their friendship would never be the same again. Their once iconic partnership became a painful reminder of how even the closest relationships can be torn apart by differences in ambition, lifestyle, and personal choices. Sinatra's frustration with Martin's laid-back approach to fame, combined with Martin's desire for independence and his eventual move away from the Rat Pack, created a rivalry that lasted for decades. It wasn't just about the music, it was about control, ego, and the pain of a friendship lost. Johnny Cash and Elvis Presley, two of the most iconic figures in American music history. Though both are legends in their own right, Their careers represented two very different facets of American culture and music. Elvis, the king of rock and roll, was the face of mainstream pop culture. Johnny Cash, on the other hand, was the embodiment of country music's rebellious spirit, an artist whose authenticity was defined by his willingness to stay true to his roots, no matter the cost. This rivalry isn't just about music, it's about what each of them represented in the broader landscape of American entertainment. Elvis, with his explosive success in the mainstream pop world, became a symbol of commercial success and cultural influence. Cash, however, found himself repelled by the commercialism that surrounded Presley's rise. He viewed Elvis's success, which was built on his mainstream appeal and pop culture status, as a sellout move. For Cash, it was about the music, not fame, not commercial success, but authenticity. Presley's transition into a more mainstream, pop-oriented style clashed directly with Cash's desire to stay true to his country roots and his image as the man in black, an artist who stood for the marginalized and the oppressed. The tension between these two legends wasn't just artistic, it was personal. Cash, known for his unflinching honesty and unwillingness to compromise, couldn't respect Elvis's shift into the mainstream. For Cash, it wasn't just about the music, it was about what the music stood for. Presley, despite his obvious talent and influence, was seen by Cash as a product of the system, an artist who catered to commercial interests rather than staying true to the heart of what music was supposed to represent. Their rivalry came to a head in the early years when Cash refused to sign with Presley's record label, RCA Victor. While Presley was flying high with his massive commercial success, Cash saw this move as selling out. Signing with Presley's label would mean abandoning the grit and authenticity that had defined his career. Cash didn't want to be just another pop artist. He wanted to make music that was raw, real, and rooted in the struggles of working-class America. The personal animosity was also fueled by their contrasting lifestyles. Presley's rapid rise to fame, complete with the luxury, fame, and indulgence that came with it, stood in stark contrast to Cash's more humble, rebellious, and often troubled life. Elvis's glamorous life and constant media attention only deepened Cash's resentment. In Cash's eyes, Presley had compromised himself to fit the mold of the mainstream, while he had stayed true to his roots, struggling through personal demons and a life filled with ups and downs. Both artists publicly criticized each other's music and lifestyle over the years. While Presley, who had already achieved massive mainstream success, continued to make records that appealed to a wider, pop-driven audience, Cash didn't hesitate to voice his opinion on how far Presley had strayed from his musical roots. In turn, Presley reportedly found Cash's darker, more authentic approach to life and music difficult to understand. The feud was often played out through interviews, with both artists making jabs at each other's work and character. The turning point in their rivalry came during a tense moment in 1959 when Cash appeared on the Frank Sinatra Timex show and publicly distanced himself from the mainstream pop machine that Elvis represented. Cash made it clear that he was more comfortable staying in his lane as a country artist than aligning himself with a pop-driven agenda, which he viewed as shallow and contrived. The contrast between their personalities was impossible to ignore. Presley, the clean-cut, media-trained superstar, and Cash, the gritty, unapologetically authentic outsider. But despite their differences, it wasn't all bad blood. As the years went on, Cash and Presley's paths crossed several times, and while their rivalry remained palpable, there were moments of mutual respect. Cash even admitted that he had tremendous admiration for Presley's early work and his musical abilities. However, the rivalry never truly subsided. It was, at its core, a clash of artistic integrity versus commercial success. This rivalry continues to fascinate because it represents a clash of two worlds, authenticity versus mainstream success, and how these two massive cultural forces could never truly coexist despite their undeniable talents and influence on the music world. Johnny Cash refused to compromise, to become just another pop star, while Elvis Presley embraced the commercialism that made him a household name. Their story is a testament to how the pursuit of fame, success, and authenticity can drive even the greatest artists apart. In the end, Johnny Cash and Elvis Presley's rivalry wasn't just about music. It was about identity, legacy, and what it meant to be an artist in the ever-changing world of American entertainment. Both men were icons, but they stood for different ideals, and that, ultimately, is what made their conflict so enduring. Aretha Franklin and Patti LaBelle are two of the most legendary voices in music history, both icons of soul and R&B, known for their powerhouse vocals and undeniable influence. But despite their mutual talent, their rivalry is one of the most fascinating and complex in music history. Their competition for the title of Queen of Soul was not just a professional battle, but a deeply personal one, fueled by jealousy, pride, and the need for recognition in a male-dominated industry. Aretha Franklin, often hailed as the Queen of Soul, had already solidified her place in music history by the time Patti LaBelle entered the scene. Franklin's rise to fame was marked by her incredible vocal range and emotional depth, making her one of the most respected and beloved figures in R&B. She was the face of soul music in the 60s and 70s, revered for her raw talent and groundbreaking music. But as LaBelle's star began to rise in the late 60s and early 70s, the competition between the two women became more intense. LaBelle, with her powerful voice and commanding stage presence, was seen as a natural heir to Franklin's throne, and that didn't sit well with Aretha. The rivalry between Franklin and LaBelle went beyond music. It was about pride, identity, and the battle for the crown of soul music. Both women were powerful, but they had very different approaches to their music and careers. Franklin, known for her gospel roots and timeless ballads, was the embodiment of classic soul. LaBelle, on the other hand, brought a more theatrical flair to her performances, often mixing soul with pop and funk, creating a more contemporary, energetic vibe. Their differences in style and approach only intensified their rivalry, especially as both were vying for the same recognition in a genre that was constantly shifting. One of the key moments that escalated their feud occurred at an event where Aretha Franklin reportedly snubbed Patti LaBelle in public. LaBelle, known for her larger-than-life persona, spoke about this encounter in later interviews, revealing that Franklin's coldness towards her had stung deeply. The snub added fuel to the fire, with both women making veiled comments about each other in interviews over the years. Aretha, who had already achieved immense success and respect, didn't like being compared to anyone, especially someone who was gaining popularity in the same space. LaBelle, on the other hand, was frustrated by the constant comparisons and felt she was being overlooked in favor of Franklin's established legacy. The tension between them wasn't just limited to the public eye. It extended behind the scenes, with rumors of professional jealousy and personal animosities. There was talk of competing egos and disagreements over the direction of their careers. Both women were fiercely protective of their legacies and seemed to view each other as rivals, especially when it came to defining who truly deserved the title of Queen of Soul. But despite the drama, the rivalry eventually reached a point of reconciliation. In later years, both Franklin and LaBelle spoke publicly about their respect for each other's contributions to music, and their animosity slowly faded. LaBelle even admitted in interviews that she had always admired Franklin, but their rivalry had been fueled by the pressures of the industry and their competitive nature. However, the feud remains one of the most fascinating in music history. The drama of two iconic female singers clashing over their place in history, and the way their rivalry played out through public snubs, media comments, and private tension, captured the attention of soul and R&B fans around the world. The tension was raw and real, filled with moments of intense emotion, jealousy, and unspoken competition. In the end, Aretha Franklin and Patti LaBelle are both recognized as queens of their own right. But their rivalry, which began with professional jealousy and evolved into a public feud, remains an essential part of the narrative of soul music, reminding us of the fierce competition that exists even among the greatest of legends. Their eventual reconciliation highlights the complexity of their relationship, how the bond between these two icons was not just about music, but about the fight for recognition, respect, and legacy in a world that sometimes only has room for one queen. Their story is a testament to the power, passion, and competition that defines not only their careers, but the legacy of soul and R&B music itself.